Good morning, everyone, and welcome to UMBC's Spring 2021 Undergraduate Commencement Ceremony. We will begin shortly and would like to make you aware of some presentation features. Please note that you can feel free to make comments and send congratulations via the comments section available on both YouTube and Facebook. We invite you to continue the celebration after the event. There are additional videos available on the webpage, including the individual graduate slides, many of which have wonderful photos, a copy of the commencement program, and tools to celebrate together on social. Please join me in welcoming our commencement Grand Marshal, Dr. Orianne Smith.
The 76th commencement exercises of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County will now be in order. I am Dr. Orianne Smith, President of the UMBC Faculty Senate and Associate Professor of English. As President of Faculty Senate, I serve as Grand Marshal of these proceedings. Note that I am carrying the University Mace, a symbol of presidential authority. The tradition of the mace derives from medieval times in England, when the mace was held by a bodyguard for dignitaries at ceremonial functions. Maces are used by governing bodies worldwide, including the U.S. House of Representatives and the British Parliament. Used only on formal academic occasions, it symbolizes the university's governing authority and is present only when the president is in attendance. At UMBC, the mace is used exclusively at our yearly opening convocation and at our commencement ceremonies. UMBC's mace was commissioned by the Alumni Association for UMBC's 20th anniversary in 1986. As we proceed with the ceremony, I want to add congratulations on behalf of all of my faculty colleagues. Enjoy the ceremony, graduates. We are so proud of your hard work and hope that you and your families enjoy this special day.
On behalf of all the people of a proud state, I want to extend our most sincere congratulations to the class of 2021. When history looks back on this year's graduates, you will often be remembered for your earning your degree in the shadow of a global pandemic. Normal life came to a screeching halt over the past year, and it forced all of us to pause and reflect on the things that truly matter. Staying apart from friends and family reminded us how much we depend on and need each other to get through the hard times. We were reminded that each day is precious, and many of us vowed to never again take for granted the everyday parts of life. Fortunately, now we are so close to that light at the end of the tunnel when we can put this pandemic behind us. And while we know that we can never reclaim the time we've lost, I hope that as you graduate today, you remember that each of us can make the days ahead count that much more. Congratulations once again to each and every one of you, and best wishes as you begin the next exciting chapter of your lives.
Now we would like to welcome, from the University System of Maryland Board of Regents, Robert Neal.
Greetings. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to extend best wishes and congratulations from the University System of Maryland and the Board of Regents. I want to express my deep appreciation to all the leaders of UMBC, including Freeman Rabowski, who continues to distinguish himself as a strong and dynamic leader for the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I would go a bit further. Freeman is a Maryland State Treasurer. And to the outstanding faculty and staff at UMBC, under unimaginable circumstances, thanks to your collective vision, leadership, and hard work, UMBC continues to thrive as a vital institution of educational excellence and impactful service. To the graduates we celebrate today, let me say this. The past 14 months have been overwhelming in so many ways, but nothing can diminish the hard work, persistence, and dedication that have gotten each of you to where you are. In fact, the difficulty of the journey should serve to intensify the pride that you, your friends and family members take in reaching this milestone. And there may be some of you with family and friends that are no longer with us, but we know that they are here with you in spirit and are very proud of you. Nothing, not months of remote learning, not face coverings, not physical distancing, nothing can detract in the slightest from what you have achieved here at UMBC. The knowledge and experience you've received here, that you have earned here, are yours forever. I hope that you will take that knowledge and use it to help change the world, whether that is research, service, art, or activism. We need bright minds like yours to help us move towards a society that is healthier in body, mind, and spirit. Today, you have become an enduring part of UMBC's proud and impressive history. As someone who is rapidly approaching his use-by date, I'd like to offer a little unsolicited advice. Work hard, but play hard. Balance your time and your life. No one lies on their deathbed wishing they had spent more time at the office. Once again, I offer each and every one of you a well-deserved congratulations. I speak for the entire University System of Maryland when I wish you all the best in years to come. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from UMBC's Provost and Senior Vice President, Dr. Philip Rouse, who serves as our Chief Academic Officer. Dr. Rouse joined UMBC in 1990. He is a professor in the Department of Physics and has served as Dean of the College of Natural and Mathematical Sciences.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the scholarly community we call our UMBC, I would like to extend my congratulations to all of our graduates today. We applaud your commitment to the highest forms of learning and scholarship and the hard work that has brought you to this singular and rewarding day. This ceremony reminds me of the words of G.K. Chesterton, who said, "Education is simply the soul of a society as it passes from one generation to another." So today we acknowledge not only your accomplishment, but also in some sense, the passing of the torch from one generation to the next. Today, each of you will join our community of UMBC alumni who dedicate their lives to making a difference by advancing our understanding of our own humanity, our democracy, and the natural world that surrounds us. Your achievement represents not just your academic accomplishments, but the friendships you've formed, the faculty that have nurtured you, and the family and friends who supported you and helped you arrive here today. So I hope you will see your achievement as emerging from within the context of a community that knows you and cares about you. So as you look to the future, I believe that your fulfillment will derive from making the most of whatever talents have been bestowed upon you. And it lies in extending to the farthest limits the resources of your mind and of your heart. So in conclusion, I would like to leave you with my final salutation. May you enjoy a life rich in the knowledge that each day, your work and in your relationships, you have truly made a difference. Congratulations.
Next, we will hear from UMBC's 2021 Valedictorians, Jordan Troutman and Catherine Poteet. Jordan is a Meyerhoff Scholar with a double major in mathematics and computer science. In addition to his 4.0 GPA, Jordan is UMBC's first Knight Hennessy Scholar. Catherine, Katie Poteet, is a Sondheim Scholar with majors in Global Studies and Political Science, minors in Arabic Language and Culture, and a certificate in Spanish Language. She is also a member of the Honors College.
Congratulations to the class of 2021 and to all your family and friends and supporters. I'm delighted to have the chance to say a few words to you all today, though I've had a really tough time deciding what to say. So I thought I'd start with a simple concept. Growing up, the world seems pretty easy to understand. We know green means go and red means stop. But as we get older, though, we seem to encounter nothing but endless nuance. We find that the history we've been told is not always the whole story. Life itself is just really complicated. But being at UMBC, we've learned a lot about how to deal with the complications, the confusion, with the uncertainty. Mostly, I think what we've learned, certainly what I've learned, is to be comfortable with a lot of uncertainty and to hold on to the things we do know to be true. So as we leave UMBC, here's some of what I hope we will always remember to hold on to. Seek to improve yourself, but also others. Something that I've loved about UMBC are the abundant resources we can use to take ourselves to the next level. We've fully taken advantage of the jobs, internships, and volunteering experiences offered to us. We are self-motivated, determined, and passionate in the best sense. But in this process of self-improvement, we do and must make sure that we support those around us as well. It's true that in many cases, a door that opens for us closes another worthy applicant. At the end of the day, we're all seeking the best life possible, whatever that means for us. But UMBC has taught us to seek out every chance we can to support, grow, lift, and encourage others. And we, will make every other place more like that. Learn to value similarities as well as differences. When I went on an alternative spring break trip, I talked with a lot of formerly incarcerated people about their experiences in prison. With one individual I met, I was able to talk with him about our cultural similarities. While I instinctively thought I could relate to him, he quickly reminded me that I've never been to prison. And we're all like that. We all have commonalities, like graduating, and our similarities act as a mechanism to connect with us. But we also live completely unique lives. It is crucial to value those things that make us feel the same, but also appreciate things that make us different. Sometimes the best way to value those differences is to step outside of our own shoes and listen to the stories of others. Their stories matter. Your story matters. We all matter. Accept reality, but push the boundary. While at UMBC, we have learned many things about how the world works. For example, we've learned that the atom is one of the fundamental building blocks of our universe. And though we think of these things to be a sort of common knowledge, we know that what we accept as reality is not set in stone forever. Like, we know that the atom itself is built of even smaller fundamental particles. We must see the world for what it currently stands, but we must not be afraid to redefine what that world can be. Currently, it is not common for the sciences to interact with the humanities. It is not uncommon for underrepresented groups to thrive in high positions. But I see a future where the boundaries between social sciences and engineering are blurred. I believe in a world where the leaders in communities and organizations fully represent the populations they serve. We must see things for what they are, but even more for what they can be. We have the ability to mobilize, find solutions, and challenge expectations. It doesn't always take a massive crowd of people to do so. Sometimes it only takes one person. Sometimes that person will be you. So, uncertainty is the prevailing condition. As we have all seen over the last 18 months, the world has had its own unpredictable plans. We must learn how to go with the flow, embrace the instability, and make our way. We have to do what's best for ourselves, but also think about what's best for others. We have to celebrate our sameness as well as our uniqueness. We must see where we are and believe in what we can be. But as we make our way, let us remember that if anything can happen, that just means that anything is possible. Congratulations once again, the class of 2021.
Good morning to the class of 2021, family and friends of the graduates, UMBC faculty and staff, and anyone else who may be watching this video on YouTube. I'm honored to serve as the valedictorian and to congratulate all of us for this major accomplishment. I think we all know how unique this university is compared to others. When I was younger, I participated in a STEM and arts program that held its annual state competition on the UMBC campus. Even then, I recognized that UMBC was home to a distinct community of which I wanted to be a part. As a fifth-generation farmer and among the first generation in my family to graduate college, I was eager to immerse myself in a community that offers so many different perspectives than my own. UMBC is unique, creative, and diverse. There is something in each of us that others can learn from and be inspired by. Students, faculty, and staff come to UMBC with different nationalities, practicing different religions, and bearing different life experiences. Because we are all so diverse, this graduation means something different to each of us, but it also marks the collective success and excellence of our community. UMBC's community is defined by inclusive excellence, meaning that our success depends on how well we value, engage, and include all students, faculty, and staff. At UMBC, no two students share exactly the same interests and ambitions, and we are encouraged to carve our own paths, from making groundbreaking discoveries in a niche area of history to tackling widespread social and economic inequalities. We are supported by faculty and staff to conduct research and present it at our very own Undergraduate Research and Creative Achievement Day, to intern with grassroots organizations and the highest levels of the government, and more. All of this is to ensure that each of us can excel in our individual areas of study. With this unwavering support, students have the flexibility to pursue their passions and create work never before seen. This past year has been a true testament to the strength and excellence of the UMBC community. Despite facing a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, we have persevered, discovering new ways to support each other and foster community online. We have proven ourselves to be adaptable, creative, and resilient in the face of adversity. Perhaps no one is a better representation of UMBC's excellence during this time of hardship than Dr. Kazmikia Corbett, the UMBC alumna who played an integral role in developing one of the COVID-19 vaccines. Dr. Corbett's success serves as an inspiration for us all to use the preparation UMBC has given us to make an impact on the world, especially in times of struggle. As we go our separate ways today, I hope each of us will reflect on which aspects of the UMBC community made our personal experiences so special. How can we use our knowledge about how to foster community to make our future environments and the world at large a better place? No matter our majors, we each have the skills to create communities that are unique, creative, and diverse because we have been lucky enough to experience such a community ourselves. Although today may feel like a departure from the UMBC community, in reality, it is an opportunity to expand it. Congratulations once again.
We now welcome Dr. Freeman Rabowski, president of UMBC. Serving for almost 30 years as president, Dr. Rabowski has brought tremendous energy and leadership to this institution. His vision of hope and focus on the path to excellence is more important today than ever before. He has helped connect the university and our graduates with individuals, companies, foundations, and agencies that have brought new resources to build and sustain distinctive programs in undergraduate education, graduate education, and research.
We are delighted today to welcome Ms. Sarah Wartell as one of our 2 honorary degree recipients and commencement speakers. Ms. Wartell is the 3rd president of the Urban Institute, founded in 1968. Urban is a nonprofit organization focused on economic and social science research and policy. The Institute believes in the power of evidence to improve the well-being of people and places in American communities. Wartell has led the Institute in elevating the debate by bringing more of its insights into federal, state, and local government and becoming a leader in research communications and data visualization, all with the goal of strengthening communities and transforming people's lives for the better. Before her time at Urban, Wartell was Deputy Assistant to President Clinton for Economic Policy and Deputy Director of the National Economic Council. At the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development from 1993 to 1998, she advised the Federal Housing Commissioner on housing finance, mortgage markets, and consumer protection. After her government service, Wartell was the founding Chief Operating Officer and then Executive Vice President of the Center for American Progress. Her areas of expertise include community development, consumer finance, asset building, and housing finance. She believes in the power of science and data to advance upward mobility, equity, and shared prosperity. She earned a bachelor's with honors in urban affairs from Princeton, from the Princeton School of Public Affairs and International Affairs. She has a Juris Doctorate degree from Yale Law School.
Hello, class of 2021, and congratulations. This may not be the graduation that you imagined, but that's one reason I'm actually especially proud to join you. I feel like I know you in some way, and that's because Dr. Rabowski, he texts me a lot, often at night, and typically he's texting me about you. We texted when you beat #1 ranked Virginia during March Madness. He texts whenever an alum wins a prestigious job. And recently he texted me because you won the mock trial national championship. And he had a little fun by pointing out that you beat my alma mater to do it. So I know that Freeman is overwhelmed with a special pride for this pandemic class of 2021. And so too surely are all of those who have supported each of you along the way. It's no small accomplishment to have your world turned upside down and yet to persevere. Your college experience saw a deadly global virus, a crippled economy, a cry for racial justice, a bitter election, and an insurrection aimed at the heart of our democracy. And yet here you are. You've excelled on the field, on the court, and on the stage, in the lab, and in the classroom, or their virtual equivalent. And whether you are writing code or poetry or helping your neighbors in Baltimore's communities, you persevered even though it had to feel pretty uncomfortable. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Not what you lost, as painful as those losses were, but what you gained, as hard as that may be to believe. It's grit. Your achievements were made possible not just by your smarts, but by your resilience. To get to this moment, you learned, as Brian Stevenson says, how to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. True discomfort isn't ditching the yoga pants and joggers that we've all been wearing while we were only visible from the waist up. Rather, it comes from challenges to our thinking and taking seriously perspectives different than our own. Discomfort is not just pressed upon us as it was this year. It's also something we can seek out, because discomfort is often the place where we make progress. It's how we move from grit to greatness. The research certainly backs that up. The big solutions to the hard problems, they don't come from a single individual with a light bulb moment, or even by working with people who all see the problem in the same way. Innovation is sparked by the jostling together of different cultures, disciplines, beliefs, different lived experiences. I've always believed in the value of diverse teams, but I have been reminded, especially recently, and most often by my younger colleagues, that the organization that I lead can do much better. The Urban Institute has studied poverty and inequality for 5 decades, trying to find solutions, and we're a community that has always sought to be inclusive. But I've had to learn so much about privilege and how far we still have to go in order to share it widely. It's not easy to take criticism, to be asked if you're living up to your values, to be held to account. And I, for one, like most, get defensive because it's really uncomfortable. But you get past it and you start to understand a little bit about your critic's perspective. And it turns out that discomfort has done a whole lot to motivate me to make positive change. So maybe a bit more discomfort just may be what the world needs from you, too, because we're relying on you to show us the path forward to the big, hairy problems that my generation has left on your doorstep. You will need to truly listen to your critics, to challenge each other, to not only accept that others may think differently, but to seek them out, and then to roll up your sleeves and get to work together. As a society, that means that we must hear our brothers and sisters gasping, "I can't breathe." We must not look away at the despair of the struggling farmer or the displaced factory worker. We must see the sadness of Asian Americans who are facing rising hate here in a country they fought to belong to, where they just want their children to thrive. And not to prescribe for them, but to work with them to find solutions. That takes grit and discomfort. But we know that you can do it because you just showed us how. For us as a society to all succeed, we need to think of discomfort as a skill. Keep it sharp. Make discomfort a habit that you practice for the rest of your life. Having your vision of college life upended, that was uncomfortable. doing amazing things in entirely new ways. You just showed us that you can, and I believe you will make it your future too. The world out there has so many problems awaiting new ideas, awaiting new approaches, and awaiting you. You and your generations will be the change makers that we need. I just know it. And I hope that you will revel in discomfort along the way to help heal our country. And as you make change, the world will know. And if for some reason they don't, rest assured, a very proud Freeman Rubowski will send us all a text. Congratulations, class of 2021. I can't wait to see what you do next.
Now we are delighted to welcome Dr. Christopher Austin as an honorary degree recipient and commencement speaker. Dr. Austin is the CEO partner at Flagship Pioneering, a new company that seeks to deliver transformative improvements to people living with illnesses. Prior to this new adventure, he served as director of the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences at the National Institutes of Health since 2012. His work and the work of his center have been instrumental in developing the field of translational science. As the first director of that center, he worked to establish the center's mission and culture, to assemble a leadership team, and to demonstrate the ability of translational science to improve the process of developing treatments and cures and getting them to the patients who need them. Before becoming director, he had founded several initiatives, including the NIH Chemical Genomics Center, the Therapeutics for Rare and Neglected Diseases program, and the Toxicology in the 21st Century program. His work has been characterized not just by groundbreaking science, but by a commitment to making sure that science has timely and demonstrated impact on people and communities. Both he and Ms. Wartell share UMBC's commitment to the power of knowledge to inform the public good. Before joining NIH in 2002, he led several drug development programs at Merck. He has also served as the chair of the International Rare Disease Research Consortium. Dr. Austin is a member of the National Academy of Medicine. He earned a bachelor's from Princeton also, and an MD from Harvard Medical School. And he completed training in internal medicine and neurology at Massachusetts General Hospital.
Hello, UMBC graduating students, parents, faculty, honored guests. My name is Christopher Austin, and until a few weeks ago, I was the founding director of the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences at the National Institutes of Health, just down the road in Bethesda. Now I'm a CEO partner at Flagship Pioneering, a biomedical research firm in Boston, Massachusetts. And it's an honor for me to be with you by video today. Although I must say I am sorely disappointed that we can't all be together on this most special day. I know your president did everything he could to allow us to be together in person, but not even Dr. Rabowski could vanish COVID-19 in time for an in-person graduation. When Freeman asked me to deliver this address, I was enormously pleased because I have admired UMBC, its students, its faculty, its leadership, its educational model, its values for many years. It's no secret that even before COVID-19, the long-standing model of university education was under considerable stress and clearly needed to evolve. UMBC is one of the very few universities that not only changed to meet those new realities, but has led the change, treating problems as opportunities and making your educational experience second to none. The victory of the UMBC mock trial team over Yale to win its first national championship last month is a great illustration of just how excellent a UMBC education is. I'll take this theme of change as the topic for my brief comments today. You'll find in your lives that some people thrive on change and drive it to happen. Some people adapt easily to change, but don't seek it out. And some are scared of change and do everything they can to avoid it. Now, we all have a genetic predisposition to one style or another, but in your life, you should try to train yourself to be in the first category, And let me explain the reasons for that. First, since change will happen whether you want it to or not. The old saying that change is the only constant is a well-known adage for good reason. And that change has continued to accelerate. I was reading a scientific publication last week that estimated that the world of the Tyrannosaurus rex dinosaur didn't change appreciably for 2.5 million years. And until about 500 years ago, human beings were born, lived, and died in a world that changed very little during their lifetimes. By contrast, the world today is vastly different than the one your parents grew up in 50 years ago. Take it from me. I have daughters about your age, and I know. The fact that each generation is now given its own name, millennials, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, etc., is an admission that the world is transformed in every generation now. That has never been the case in human history before. And that long-term trend of shortening of time to change is certain to continue. Second, you should embrace and be a driver of change, since many things in our world need changing, either to create a more equitable and prosperous and happy world, or to fix problems that previous change has caused. The racial and social issues that have so appropriately occupied us all for the last year are in the first category. Pollution and climate change are in the second category. The world needs you not only to seek change, but to drive it. Remember the adage, if not me, who? And if not now, when? Life is not a dress rehearsal, as one of my musical colleagues once put it. Live by these truths. And finally, you should strive to be a change agent, since the opportunities are so great. Let me give you one example from my own world of medical research. There are over 7,000 different diseases that affect the human family. But currently, fewer than 500 of them have any specific approved treatment. And at the current rate of progress, it will be about 2,000 years before there is a treatment for every human disease. And at this rate, the cost of those treatments will be astronomical. However, on the other side, in just my lifetime as a doctor, the last 35 years or so, the causes of almost every one of those diseases has been discovered. Every one. This historic, epical change has created an opportunity to ameliorate human suffering on a scale completely unprecedented in human history. However, the current systems we have to develop new treatments have largely not changed. So without intervention, without all of you, that amazing potential will not be realized, and people will continue to suffer and die. I believe that it is not only a scientific and a medical imperative, but a moral imperative to change what we do, to make ourselves uncomfortable, to realize this potential. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our fellow human beings. Now, this is just one of the remarkable and exciting opportunities that previous change has created and future change needs to capitalize on. So take all you've learned at UMBC and use it as a springboard, not simply to carry out the world as it currently is, but to determine how to make the world better. And then just don't hope change happens. Take action to make it happen. Peter Levi, a professor at the University of Oxford in the UK, said that hope in every sphere of life is a privilege that attaches to action. No action, no hope. Be people of hope. Be people of action and people of change. It is an adventure you will love, I guarantee it. And the world will love you for it. Congratulations, all.
Now we will hear from Mr. Brian Frazee, the president of the UMBC Alumni Association Board of Directors. He graduated from UMBC in 2011 with a bachelor's degree in political science, and again in 2012 with his master's degree in public policy. He is now the Vice President for Government Affairs with the Maryland Hospital Association.
Good morning, class of 2021. My name is Brian Frazee, and I serve as president of the UMBC Alumni Association Board of Directors. Our board represents the alumni community at large, and you are joining a dynamic group of over 83,000 strong. Upon graduation today, you automatically become members of the UMBC Alumni Association. Campus resources will still be available to you in the future, including the UMBC Library and access to the Career Center. We recently launched a new effort called Retrievers Connect, which provides alumni and students the resources to make meaningful professional connections. Please be on the lookout for communications to stay connected to the UMBC family, including the UMBC Magazine, as well as the Retriever Roundup, our alumni newsletter. You all are entering the next chapter of your lives at an unprecedented time in our history, but UMBC is here for you, and your fellow alumni are here for you, and we have no doubt that you will succeed in whatever path you choose to lead. Congratulations, class of 2021.
We now welcome Dr. Freeman Rabowski, President of UMBC.
Good morning. I am delighted to speak with you today. I begin with words from Eleanor Roosevelt. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Today, for you and for your families, represents dreams fulfilled. Congratulations to the class of 2021. You have made it. And so I want to talk a few minutes about this experience and about thanking other people. I began by saying that the longer I live, the more I realize there's nothing more important than our families and our friends. And we have to take the time to say thank you, because we never make it to any point of achievement alone. There are always people helping us out. So I want you to look to your left and your right and thank your family members who are all around you on Zoom. And later on, thank others who may be at whatever small gathering you may be having. Some of you are watching this ceremony right now and thinking about the fact that you are surrounded by family members. I also want you to take a moment and reflect on what faculty and staff have done to support you in this journey and give them in your own way, some kind of applause. Find ways to thank them for what they've done. And then let me acknowledge all of our campus leaders, including the VPs, vice presidents, and the deans of our colleges and schools, and the other members of the President's Council, and our shared governance leaders who've guided us during this challenging period. Thank you to all of you, and to all of the colleagues on campus and students who've helped each other. You've already heard from Governor Hogan and from Regent Neal this morning. Let's make sure we thank them. It's great to be in a state where public officials understand the importance of higher education. And similarly for the University System of Maryland and our Chancellor, Jay Perman, they all support UMBC, they and the Board of Regents. I know many of our graduates have family members who are UMBC alumni. You are all a part of that wonderful group that was mentioned by the UMBC Alumni Association Board of Directors, President Brian Frazee, earlier in the ceremony. We're very proud of you. We have staff members and family members of faculty and staff graduating today. Congratulations to all of you. I'd also like to recognize those students graduating today who are veterans and members of the military. We appreciate you more than ever. Thank you for your service. And then I want to really celebrate also all of you who are going to become teachers and social workers and healthcare workers and entering public service in different ways, any kind of public service. You may be coming out of the arts, humanities, social sciences, or other disciplines, and be doing just that. We thank you for serving for the public good. You are a very special class. You're graduating 51 years after the first graduation in 1970. Many people in our country years ago who were a part of those groups in the 70s remembered what had happened to all of us in the 60s. Students, I graduated in 1970, and I remember being very frightened and having gone through the 60s where we had everything from the assassination of our beloved President Kennedy to the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, and so much violence in different ways. And what it all did, the Vietnam War, and we had social protests for challenges, and all of us kept asking, in the midst of this activism, will we be okay? Will we be okay? And we did come out of it, just as we will come out of the period we're experiencing right now. It's about our attitude. towards adversity. It's about our saying we must speak the truth as we see it and be supportive of people who speak up for justice, for social justice. This is a time for moral leadership, and that's about our values of speaking the truth, of believing in science, of coming together as a community to say what we can do to help each other. I want to talk about two of our alumni. We have alumni who are helping in this country and around the world from all the disciplines, from the doctors and the nurses and the healthcare workers to the researchers, the public health workers, the social workers, the teachers, the lawyers, all who are doing, in many cases, public service, to the artists who are elevating us in all different types of ways. But I wanted just to share two examples that I've been talking about around the country. The first is Dr. Caitlin Sattler, who graduated in biology from UMBC, from Frederick, Maryland, and who's now an investigator conducting a 10,000-person study on asymptomatic patients. She's leading the country in that. She's a graduate of UMBC, went on to Hopkins and then MIT, and she has an amazing TED Talk you must watch. And she's a leading scientist in the world. And the other is another young woman, Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, who has developed the Moderna COVID vaccine, but whose technology is also in Pfizer and some of the others. And the significance of her work, having come from North Carolina and come to UMBC and then on PhD from Chapel Hill and now at NIH, is that she becomes the first Black woman in the world to create a vaccine. So she has made history for all of us, and she will go into the faculty at Harvard in immunology beginning in this fall. We are very proud of both of them. They're groundbreaking, but it's about the diversity of those scientists and young women and making a difference. This class of 2021 is as amazing as any I've seen in my 3+ decades here at UMBC. You have won all kinds of major national and international competitions and scholarships we've got. And the numbers will look favorably when looking at any institution in the country, including the Ivies, when talking about the number of Fulbrights and the number of Goldwaters and the Rhodes, Sam Patterson on his way to Oxford. And just recently, we became the national champions in mock trial. Big round of applause. National champions as UMBC beats Yale. Has a nice ring to it. Congratulations to the mock trial team. We have graduates who've taken jobs or who are entering public service and others who are going on to universities around the country from Harvard and MIT and Stanford and Duke and University of Maryland Medical and University of Pennsylvania, and it goes on and on and on. And so I took time to listen to some of our graduates talk to me about advice I should give to you. Because my point to you is what you need to know to succeed is all inside of you. What you've done to this point to get here is exactly what you should continue doing. And so I talked to several students. Sandra Crespin-Melgar, who's a DACA student majoring in social work and minoring in psychology, is going on to UMB for a master's in social work. And Viviana Angelina is a political science a major with a certificate in security studies and minors in Russian and world politics and piano. Whew. Going to George Washington to be a grad fellow there in international security. And Peter Baylor is in biochemistry and music composition. Great combination. Is going on for the PhD in biochemistry at University of Pennsylvania. And Hannah Tekle is a biology major and a math minor going to UMB to study global health. And Veronica Schilling is in biology, minoring in writing, and going to NC State to become a veterinarian, to get a doctor of veterinary medicine. And Jordan Troutman is in computer science and math, going to Stanford to pursue a PhD in computer science. And Francis Watkins, also in computer science, is going to USC for a master's in computer science. They and your whole class are representing different identities, whether talking about race or gender or LGBTQ, are focused on supporting others. They are talking about the fact, and they want you to think about this idea that you have overcome all the uncertainty, all the darkness of this period, and you've positioned yourselves to get through these challenges. My advice to you is exactly what they said to me, that as we are together through Zoom, enjoy this moment and understand it's a time to pause and reflect and to be present in this moment and to make this a special part of your journey. You know, I listened to different students talk, and they talked about how diverse your class is from all over the world. They talked about the little and big wins of being knocked down and getting back up. They talked about the notion of facing challenges. And most important, they talked about not allowing anyone else to define who you are. You define who you are. And that as you get out, you're going to think about grad school, professional school work, that you want to continue to fight discrimination in all ways, and that you want to always remember the importance of being empathetic and supportive of others. I was deeply moved by Sandra's comments about her experience as a DACA student, that before coming to UMBC, she spent 6 years moving through the program at Prince George's Community College, coping with the challenges of paying for her own education. She got support from her family and from some of the people at that college, and here she's gotten support from the Women's Center and from her faculty. And she said, as she talked about the experience, that she's representing her family, and she talked about her parents and others, but she talked about her grandmother who didn't have the chance to go to college. And that here she is as the granddaughter representing all those who came before her. Well, all of you can say the same thing, that you're representing not just yourself, but all who worked hard so you could be here today. You are stronger than you've ever been. And so as I finish this part, I want you to think about all the students who've done well. All of you have done superbly. We've got students with 4.0s and students who have the gold stalls for achieving Latin honors, and we've got the different honor societies, Phi Beta Kappa and Tau Beta Pi and Phi Kappa Phi and all the others. Feel good about your accomplishments. It's so important that you know each of you has so much to be proud of and that your future is very bright. It has been my tradition at commencements to quote the words of UMBC's first president, the late Dr. Alvin Kuhn, as I talked to the first graduating class, and as he talked to the graduating class of 1970. He said this: if you bring to the future the same personal qualities and personal commitment you have brought to this campus as students, good and important things will happen to each of you and to those around you, and the university community will be proud to have played a part in your life. And now let me give you my own words, and they are that your thoughts and your words and your actions will define not only who you are today, but who you will be in the future. Be confident knowing that the education you've received here has prepared you to continue learning. It's given you a solid foundation for the rest of your lives. Know that if you persevere, and we know you will reach your goals, though you are certain to be challenged in the future as you've been challenged in this last period. But remember that your dreams, and most important, your character, will define who you will become. And your character will be reflected most clearly in the courage you possess and in the compassion that you show for others. Be true to yourself and true in your relationships, and always reaching out to inspire and to elevate. Just know that we are so proud of each of you and of what you've accomplished. And so I am delighted to say to you that you are now officially members of the class of 2021 as alumni. You may now turn your tassels. Congratulations to all of you.
Hey.